Welcome back. In this session, we're going to look at some simple privacy principles. This is one of my favorite privacy sessions that we look at. In the coming slides, Ange and I are going to walk you through 8 simple privacy topics. The reason I really like this topic is this simplifies data privacy. Like many people, when you enter and first start looking at this topic of privacy training, it can feel overwhelming. And this makes it feel nice and simple. Because even though there are many laws written about data privacy, they are all based on 8 simple principles that are common sense. I think you're going to agree with them, and they will help you better care for our data subjects' data. The reason this simplifies everything was back in 1961, a large group of countries came together and agreed these common set of principles. They're called the OECD principles. And the agreement these countries made was to go back to their own countries and enact laws that put these principles into law. And so all of the data privacy laws around the world are based on these 8 principles. Unsurprisingly, the Europeans were first to enact these into law, and everyone else looked at what Europe did and said, that looks good to me, I'll do the same. So if you want to implement data privacy in your country, you can either study all the many laws that are in your country about data privacy, or you can simply look at these 8 simple principles and ask, what does that mean for us? And you'll be at least 90% of the way towards your data privacy compliance simply by looking at these 8 principles. So we're going to walk through each of these principles one by one and talk a little bit about what they mean. And then we have an exercise for you to think about how this looks like in a more real context in ministry.
The first principle is collection limitation. This means that we need to limit the collection of personal data to just the data that we intend to use. It's important that this data is obtained lawfully and fairly and with the data subject's consent and knowledge. The second principle is data quality. All of the data we hold on the data subject should be accurate, complete, current, and relevant to the purpose it is used. For example, if someone changes their email address because they don't want a relative knowing they interact with a Christian organization, it's important that we send the communication to this updated email address and not continue to send it to the old address. This could cause harm to the individual.
The third principle is purpose specification. This means that when we collect information, we should specify the reason why we're going to be using that information and what we're going to be using it for. This should not be changed, so we should tell people upfront what we're going to be doing with their data. The fourth principle is use limitation. Use limitation means that we need to restrict the way that we use data to the things that we told people when we collected it in terms of Principle 3. So simply put, 3 and 4 means say what we're going to do with data and then do what we said we were going to do.
The fifth principle is security safeguards. Personal data should be protected against unauthorized access, modification, or disclosure. It's important that we have good security measures in place protecting any personal information that our organization holds. Principle 6 is openness. You might be surprised to see this as a privacy principle, but this means that a privacy notice should exist and a data controller should be identified. This means the data subject should know which organization is responsible for the protection of their data. We should be clear and transparent about who the data controller is.
Principle 7 is individual participation. Individuals have the right to know about the collection of their personal information, to access that information, to request collection, or to challenge the denial of those rights. This means that a data subject can ask us to remove their information, or to stop emailing them, or to update their information, or to access the information that we have on them. It's important to note that privacy rights are individual. In general, we don't have privacy rights for someone else. For example, A married couple individually have privacy rights. They don't have privacy rights for one another. The final principle is accountability. Accountability means that the organization that was identified in step 6 is responsible for ensuring that all of the principles are met. So, whichever organization is collecting the data is the organization that is held to account for everything that happens with the data after it has been collected.